Welcome to our Zoom. Thanks for joining us. In the chat, you could say hello. Everybody's muted as they're joining us, or it'll just be too loud. You could say hello. You could change the screen on the top. If you just want to see the speaker, you could click on the top buttons and you could change the view. You could see just the speaker. You could see the Brady Bunch screen of all the different people in the Zoom. I'm Dara. Donna is going to wave. That's Donna. She has a cold, so I'm going to be doing most of the moderating. So for everybody, we usually go a little bit over, so we're going to jump right into it today. So if anybody gets here late, they could watch this. All of our Zooms are shared on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/modernmahjong. So today, welcome you all to our Zoom panel with Barbara Baer, Ronda Brooks, Jennifer Clayton, Barney Gallassio, Donna Miller-Small, and Linda Sachs. I want to thank you for joining us. So breaking news, we call the NMJL, and the cards are in the mail. For those of you who ordered a bunch of cards, you could check your informed delivery. If it's a package size, you might see that already. If it's not a package and it's just an envelope, that might not show up until the day you're getting the informed delivery. And just a little housekeeping before we start. The Chris Lloyd Company was really generous to donate a Seasons Mahjong set for us to have donations for Alzheimer's. So if you were interested in trying to win the refreshed design of the Seasons Mahjong set, information is on modernmahjong.com, or you could go to bit.ly, and then there's the address. It's Modern Mahjong ALZ raffle. And all you have to do is donate, and we will send you information about your raffle tickets. And the prize will be drawn at our luncheon in Fort Lauderdale. If you don't live in Fort Lauderdale, come visit and make it a lovely vacation. We are having our event in Fort Lauderdale at the Bridge Club. Michelle Frizzell is coming down, and she will do a deep dive on the new card and tips to transition to the new card, followed by a delicious lunch, social Mahjong games. These are all of our upcoming talks. You might recognize Barney Gallassio's name for next, is that next year? That's Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday.
Some important housekeeping on Barney's talk. We have paid extra to go to 1,000 people. We don't want to cut off registration because then that would prevent people who are showing up from registering. So if you go to Zoom and you get a message that says full, do not panic, join us on YouTube and it will be live streaming there. You can chat, we will read the chat. You will get everything that's provided on Zoom. You just don't need to sign in. And our other events are coming up, and you can see those also on Modern Mahjong. And we are kicking off a giveaway. Ray from American Mahjong Practice App is really generous and donating 10 lucky winners, either the app or the upgrade to the new card. So we're going to start posting that on Facebook. So that's coming soon. Today, we are going to discuss all tournament topics. Why people love tournaments, why they love hosting it, what to expect, what to bring, how to prepare, tournament play itself, speed, decision-making, improving your chances of winning. I don't know why, but while I was preparing this sheet, I just thought of like the magicians when they do like the behind the scenes, and then everyone's like, why are you giving away our secrets? But we have a lovely panel sharing their secrets with us today at their own time, at their own expense, and we really appreciate all of you for being here. And finally, we'll wrap up with hosting a tournament. So with that said, we are going to ask, I'm going to stop my share. We are going to go in alphabetical order and start with Barbara Baer. If all of you could take turns and introduce yourself, either tell us what you love about playing in a tournament, or if you want, what you love about hosting a tournament.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Like I said, I'm the senior member of this panel, and I've been playing 54 years. I fell in love with it. And it's the game I love to hate. I play and I cannot wait to go back the next day and play some more. One of the things that made my life really special was when I taught Jennifer to play 5 years ago. She was somebody that never wanted to play. She couldn't understand why. I thought Marta was more important than going spending time with her. Now she understands. So let's fast forward 5 years now. And look where we are. Jennifer and I are now partners in Mahjong Fever. Opportunity knocked. And about hosting a tournament, it's different now on the other end. My joy of Jennifer's and I joy of taking tournaments to a new level, thousands and thousands of players, different cities. But my biggest excitement when I do a tournament is if we hear laughter in the room. Somebody called me right after the Las Vegas tournament, and it really hit home. And I don't even think I told you this to Jennifer. She called me up and she said, Barbara, something you said really stuck with me. I always say, leave your problems at the door when you come to a tournament. Everybody has problems. I says, you're here for one object only, and you're to have fun. She said it resonated with me. It made me feel so good because the problems are going to be there when you go home. So I always say to everybody, if I hear a lot of laughter in the room, I did my job. And that's why I love playing Mahjong. I hope I play for another 54 years. Okay.
That'd be a miracle.
Then that's the reason.
Wonderful. And next we have, thank you very much. We have Ronda Brooks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rhonda. I live on Long Island, New York, in Comac, and I've been playing Mahjong for about 30 years. And I've been running tournaments for about, I was trying to look it up before, about 12 years, I'd say, maybe 5-6 times a year. I am a retired social worker. I love to travel. My background here is because I'm going to Iceland tomorrow and hoping to see the Aurora Borealis.
Oh.
So this is why I have this in the background, because if I don't get to see it, well, here it is. So I love running tournaments because we run tournaments at our synagogue. We started at Comac Jewish Center, and then when they merged with Dix Hills Jewish Center, we combined with them. We just had a tournament on Sunday, and we had 132 players, 33 tables. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. We raised a lot of money for the synagogue. What I love about it is that I'm not in this to raise money for me. I'm in this to raise money for other people. So our money goes to the Social Action Committee. It goes to the religious school. It's gone to the sisterhood in the past. It's gone to all different kinds of tzedakah charity. And we don't make any money. I get breakfast and lunch, and that's about it. I just love raising money for other people, creating an atmosphere where people can have fun together, get to meet new people, have a good time, spend a day just kind of away from the usual drag of normal life. And I've met a lot of great people, a bunch of you on here, I'm sure I know in real life as well, Barbara and Jennifer. I also love playing in tournaments. Barney and Donna and Donna and Dana. Dara, I mean, it's just been a fabulous run, and I hope we get to keep doing this. So thanks all for showing up today.
Thank you very much. And next up we have Jennifer Clayton.
Hi. So again, as my mom had mentioned, I started playing almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years this summer. As she mentioned, she kept asking me. Of course, I grew up with it in the house, the ladies coming over, and I was so excited because I knew I'd get like donuts and cookies and all that good stuff, all the snacks. And then I said, okay, let me see what this is all about. I love challenges and puzzles, and it makes my mind work. And I said, I'll give you an hour. And when we played, I said, oh, this is so different than I had anticipated it to be. And I was like, okay. So after that, I bought a book. I learned. I was saying to you all before, I went to my first tournament, only playing 3 months. I feel you just have to dive right into it. A lot of people say it's scary, but I just went into it. Did I make mistakes? Yes, but I learned and I never did them again. And each time I learned something. And then, like she said, I got hooked. I found my own games. Where I am in Dallas, started going to tournaments. I met so many of my good friends through this game. And then, like my mom had said, the opportunity arose for us to buy not only 1, but 2 tournaments. We combine them. It is a lot of work. We put our heart and souls into it. If anybody has been to our tournaments, we want you to have the most joyous experience that you can have. We take you for a weekend or 3 days or however, and we're in our little bubble and we just laugh and we eat. And again, I have made so many good friends through these tournaments that I get to see now. And we plan our dinners and we play before, and we just have such a good time. And as Rhonda said, I still love playing in tournaments. I don't think that excitement ever goes away when that first game is going to start. And we all know, we're like, oh,
The adrenaline.
yeah, it's going to start. And then it's just, it's something about tournaments. We're trying to, don't be scared. You know, I hear that a lot. I'm scared to try my first tournament. I'm scared people. You just have to go and experience it for yourself. And I think once you go, you're going to be hooked. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And next up, we have Barney Gallassio.
Hi, everyone. I'm Barney, and I've been playing for 8 years, and I love playing in tournaments. I was fortunate enough to run a few of them in New York City there for a while before COVID. We had a wonderful time. I'm now helping out some facilities when they need help running tournaments on sort of an ad hoc basis, which I love doing. So I want to answer the question. I know you asked, what do you love about, running tournaments? I'm going to tell you what I hate about running tournaments, and that is not being able to play. It's very hard to sit. It's very hard to sit in the room and watch everybody doing something that I totally love and not be able. So in some ways, I secretly hope that there's a no-show that maybe I could take this. But anyway, it's been a wonderful game, and I would say for me, I just can't think of a better way to up your game than to play in tournaments. You are going to be surrounded by some wonderful players. There will be some nerves. They will go away, we promise you. But if there's a single way to really up your game, it's playing with tournament level people, to watch the way they operate and the way they manage tiles and the way they're managing the whole table. So for me, I would say, if you're really interested in upping your game, please strongly consider playing in tournaments. And hopefully by the end of tonight's session, there'll be some little spark that you'll hear that will make you say, I'm ready to do it, or at least I want to learn more. So excited about chatting about these fun things tonight with all of you.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And next up, we have Linda Sachs from California.
Her
Oh,
mic
wait,
is off.
hold on. I'm unmuting you.
There we
Okay.
go. All right. Unmuted. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for inviting all of us on this panel. So I'm Linda Sachs out here in California, still daytime here. So I started playing in 2016. So it actually was the summer. So it's not even been 7 years yet. And I absolutely, fell in love with the game and did my first tournament in 2017. Was very nervous, obviously, at my first one, but I was absolutely hooked. And what I love about tournaments, I play in local tournaments, I play in several of the national tournaments, and I love the speed. I love playing fast. I find that my brain works better when I play faster. It helps me to stay focused, so that really helps. Another reason I love tournaments is I love competition. I come from a gaming family. My brother is a professional backgammon player. My parents met at a bridge tournament. Like, gaming is in my blood, but I am the only one that plays Mahjong. So that's my thing. Love it. And finally, I love meeting new friends. And we have a whole group in LA of wonderful women who have met at tournaments and merged our different groups. And we play socially, we play in tournaments, we travel together. So it has really been, I would say, life-changing. So just love it all. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you see me looking away at my phone, I'm helping people that are trying to get in. So I'm not being, apologize. And next up, we have Donna Miller-Small.
Hi there. I just want to thank Darren and Donna for hosting us and letting us all come together on these marvelous platforms that they sponsor, and they give up their time and energy. And it's such a great way to be united as a community. And that was the silver lining of COVID, that we all connected. I mean, I'm from Long Island. I teach more than I play in tournaments. I started teaching a couple of months after I took up the game. My mother was a Mahjong player, but I didn't really play that much. And I'm dittoing a lot of what has been said. I come from a family of a Mahjong player and tournament bridge players, life masters. My father was a competitor and a student of the game, and I think I got the competition gene, whether I'm playing Mahjong at home or in a tournament or pickleball. I want to win. I love the competition. I love playing. I love winning more. And there's just something about a rush of playing in a tournament. And I've been at Ronda's tournaments. I've been at Barbara, her predecessors, and it's fun. It's just, if you like a little competition, it's certainly something to try out.
Terrific. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know, Donna and I all met because of Mahjong when Donna Small, so there are actually Donna Miller Small and Donna Miller Castman. So I work very well with Donna Millers. So if a lot of people thought they're the same person. So now you could see there's two screens, blonde and brunette, or kind of brunette. So for those of you who also love canasta or looking to learn canasta, a quick blur small and I are releasing our book. I don't know why it's the same day the cards are coming out, but on March 31st, our book about canasta will be coming out. So that is on Modern Mahjong or Modern American Canasta. You could find that. So with that said, I am going to share my screen. And that's one thing, even all through COVID, Zoom still is not as intuitive as I wish it would be. But can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you mind just one housekeeping right from the beginning, if you don't mind? Could you let people know where they'll be able to get some of the things they're going to see tonight for those of people who might be trying to take notes or whatever? All of the materials that you see tonight will be available to you.
So already on our website, modernmahjong.com, Barney has shared his crib sheet, which is kind of shortened and summarized here as part of the just a section of this talk. That is on modernmahjong.com. In the left margin, you could see different links. And on the very bottom, it says Barney's tournament tips, and you could click on that. Additionally, this entire YouTube, if we go too fast, I would say 80% of us are from New York. So we probably all speak a little too fast. So if we go too fast, or if you just want to refresh and take notes, we will be sharing it all on youtube.com/modernmahjong. So you could take notes now, or you could just enjoy and relax and have a cup of coffee and then watch it later. So Barney, terrific. The other housekeeping is if anything is in front of your screen and you can't see the entire screen, you could just take your mouse and click on the images that you see on the right and move it off to the side, or even just close it out. So with that being said, we are going to start with thinking of entering your first tournaments and tips to improve your experience. And these are from the tournament crib sheet that Barney shared. You don't have to read them all now. We're going to go through each one at a time. Barney's going to take the first four, then we're going to go on to Linda and Donna, and then we're going to go on to the next subject. So the different topics we're going to cover tonight is what do you love about tournament play, which we did, how to prepare for your first tournament, what to expect, what to bring. We're going to then go into tournament play itself. We're going to talk about the speed of play, decisions and differences between home play and tournament play, and what a lot of people are here for, how to improve your chance at winning at a tournament. Then we're going to segue into hosting a tournament, and we have local tournament directors here. We have national tournament directors here. So you really are going to get a full A to Z tournament discussion tonight. So with that being said, Barney, do you want to start with I am nervous?
Perfect. Yes. And I want to be very mindful of time. As you all know, if you've seen me or been with me before, I can talk forever. So I'm going to try to be short and pithy tonight if possible. So I'm just going to say a couple of things about each of these. I think we might be accepting some questions now, or maybe at the end, whichever, you might be thinking about them. But the four I want to talk about is, and one we've already touched on already, I'm nervous. You are going to be nervous when you play in your first tournament. And I would venture to say, even speaking for myself, that first game of every tournament that I play in, I'm a little nervous. I think it's a combination of nerves excitement, anxiety, not knowing, wanting to do this, apprehension. There's always a little something about that first game. But yes, you're going to be nervous. That's very normal. And I think as you learn some of these tips and some of these ideas, you will become less nervous. But I'm going to go on a limb and say nerves will not be ever completely gone. I just don't anticipate that's ever going to happen. There's always going to be a little bit of nervousness, just as you become familiar with the room and who the people are and some of your opponents. But I still say nerves is 1% and excitement and fun and joy is the other 99%. So yes, you're going to be nervous. I think yes.
Don't you feel, and maybe this is just my experience, once you get that first game over with, kind of like your shoulders relax and you just kind of.
Yes, deep sigh. The first game is over, deep sigh, relax, let's go on. There's just something about that first game. I just think it's, it's the first time, it's whatever. You want a good hand, and what's the first hand going to look like? But yes, I do think deep sigh, and then things flow, very, very easily. Goes without saying, know the card. I mean, let's face it, you go to a tournament, most likely you're going to meet very good players. Not everybody who just doesn't know anything about the game is showing up at a tournament. Really, why would they? And so you're going to meet good players, and knowing the card just goes without saying. If you are still at the point where you're not familiar with, the card of the year or whatever, it's probably some work that you need to do to get ready for your first tournament. But I would say knowing the card very well is definitely going to be a sign of a really good player and a potential winner at a tournament. And we hear this in just about every presentation that we do. It's probably the most important thing. Get to know that card like the back of your hand. We ask that players at tournaments, specifically if you're at a tournament where the East is bringing his or her own set, if there's something at all unusual about the tiles, we ask that the East, who's bringing her set, show some of the unusual tiles, typically the one the one bam or joker. If it's anything unusual, somebody should be showing you exactly what these tiles are. I know over the years everybody's gotten better at saying please bring pretty standard sets. You don't need to be bringing your old vintage sets with nail polish on them and strange stickers on them or whatever. Sometimes you might see one of them because that's what they had to bring, but they will help you understand if there's anything unique about any particular tile so that you don't make a mistake. A good East is always doing that. And don't be afraid to ask. I've had players literally say, can I see the one bam? If for whatever the reason, she was the last one to run to the table and all the tiles are upside down, she could ask, could I see the one bam? I'd like to understand what the one bam looks like. So, but that will happen. This is the one.
Just to interrupt, somebody actually said at the tournaments that they actually have everyone take a picture of their key tiles before they.
I did that on my iPhone. I have one particular set that I put them on my iPhone, just show it to them in case the tiles had already been turned over so they could see. I remember one woman from Ronda's tournaments literally had a picture of them laminated on her table so that she literally passed around the laminated card and was able to show everybody what the joker and the one bam and maybe even a dragon, what it even looked like. So lots of things. Number 4, this is the one I would spend the most time talking to someone about, and this is really know the rules that are going to be played at the tournament. Now, large tournament organizations, they have their rules on their website. So it's very easy to go and find the rules actually on the website before you go up. You show up, you can actually read them, become familiar with what rules are being used. If not, you could always call or email tournament director. I know I would send them out as emails. If someone called me up and said, I want to see the rules that you're following in New York City, send them to me in advance. So you can always do that. On the day of, there are typically copies of the rules scattered either at the tables or maybe even some of the eating areas. People I see sometimes reading the rules, while having their breakfast, so to speak. Really know them. Now, before you get too scared, 90% of everything are all the rules you already know. It's not like we've invented new rules to run these tournaments, but you want to know how points are given out. You want to know what penalties might exist. I think that's one thing I always look at right away is that -10 for this or -25 for this. What about extra points? I'm getting bonuses for singles and pairs. I'm getting bonuses for jokerless hands, for example. So it's good to know exactly what the rules are, exactly how the scoring system works. It'll make you much more comfortable. And this way, when you're at the table and you're signing off on your score, you'll know exactly what you're signing off for. So understanding the rules and the scoring, which are typically within the same sheet, I think is very, very important, even before you start your day.
Wonderful.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So
I did
next,
that fast.
that was Speedy Gonzalez for you. That was
Okay.
so number 5. Now we are on Linda.
Okay, great. All right, thanks. Okay, so number 5, be mindful of time. So tournaments will have a certain amount of time that you need in which you need to finish 4 games. So just for those of you who haven't played tournaments, they're typically, like let's say it's a 3-day tournament, there might be 4 sessions, like a day 1 session in the evening, a day 2 session in the morning, and then the afternoon, and then the next day, maybe a session in the morning. If it's like a multi-day tournament, but even a single day tournament is going to have, certain sessions, but within each session, they might have, 3 rounds or 2 rounds, again, depending on the tournament. Within each round is 4 games. Okay, so when you are when you are starting that round, most tournaments will have a clock on the wall, and you can take a look at that, and they will say in the rule sheet whether that round has to be completed in 50 minutes, 55 minutes, 60 minutes. It just depends on the tournament. So you need to know that. And so if you don't finish the last game by the time your time is up, then in most tournaments, you get 0 points for that last game. You still get your other points. So that's important to know. Now that might seem fast for some people, like, oh, I don't play 4 games in less than an hour, but remember that in a tournament, you're not doing the same sort of chit chat that you do in real life. So you're really focused on plays. You can definitely get the games in, but it is important to keep up. So that relates to number 6, which is pace is key. So it can feel stressful at first. And I'll be honest, in my first tournament, my only goal was to not be slow. My goal wasn't to win. My goal was to not be slow. And in my very first tournament, I just did like safe discards to keep up. So I would say, one tip about keeping pace is to have your next discard ready. Just really always know what your next discard is. And also just try not to deliberate too much. Like, it's obviously from time to time, you're going to need to take a minute to sort of, assess your hand. But if you do that with every turn, you're going to get some looks at the table and you might get your east, which I think I'm explaining later on in the panel, but you get your east at the table might nudge you along and say, let's just, keep watch of the time. So that's important. And also there's benefits to finishing quickly. So if you finish earlier, I love it because you get to avoid lines at the restroom. You may get some steps in. You can make a phone call. You can chat with your friends at the tournament. And there's often snacks. Maybe you get in line for lunch. So all of this is a benefit to finishing a few minutes early. And also the other reason you want to finish early is that towards the end of the round, the noise level of the room tends to go up, and it's harder to play at the last game because you've got a lot of people now, a lot of commotion in the room. So the quicker you finish, the better. Number 7, your scorecard. So at all the tournaments I play at, there are 2 scorecards. One is the individual scorecard that you get, and you can keep track of your own scores. And the other is the scorecard that East will get. And East, at every tournament I play in, East will keep track of scores for the table. And the tournaments do vary in terms of the process of verifying scores, in terms of who verifies for whom. But at every tournament, there is a process of signing off and verifying the scores. So that's just really important to know. And I would say also keep your individual score sheet. So even though East has turned in the official score sheet, keep your own, because sometimes there's questions about it. The tournament directors might need to take a look at it at the end. Who knows? So do not throw away your individual score sheet ever. Well, maybe after the tournament. And then finally, the last is number 8, last for me, and that's penalty point. So Barney alluded to this. So You can get some penalty points at tournaments, and typically this happens when you throw somebody's Mahjong tile. And the number of points that you will lose typically goes up as the number of exposures. If you throw someone Mahjong and they win, the more exposures they have, the more points are deducted. And so, but tournaments will vary in how they deduct points. Some of them will deduct points if, like, let's say, for example, maybe you get -10 if you throw to somebody with 2 exposures and -25 throwing to somebody with 3 exposures. But other tournaments will deduct points if you throw to somebody who has only 1 exposure or even no exposures. And that can be a little daunting for people because people are like, why would I lose points? I didn't know what they were playing. But just keep in mind, don't panic, and don't get too upset because the points are being deducted across the room. So if it's a competition, it's happening everywhere. Everyone's losing points here and there. So try not to get too worked up about it. That's what I tell myself. And I think that was it. So turning it back to you, Daryl.
Thank you very much. And next up, starting with number 9, we have Donna Miller-Small. So I think she is still, yep, there she is. Hold on one second. I think it muted everybody. So I'm asking, yep, there you're back.
I am back. I just want to add a couple of things. I held a tournament in my home way before I ever started playing in big tournaments. And just as a little tip, my group, because we were all part of the tournament, we had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 tables. We gave money to charity. We practiced timing ourselves as a group. And that was a great way. I have taught classes on tournament play, and I do time people, and I probably need to start doing that more. Haven't done it since COVID. And something that Barney was saying about when you're nervous, remember to breathe. That's like a good thing. Just take a deep breath as you're starting. Okay. So penalty points.
Oh, no, we did that. You're on to rack or not to rack.
Okay, good. That's what I thought. Okay. That's a pet peeve of mine. And when I teach, I believe you pick and rack. If I could record that and just play it in every class that I teach, and it's a strategy. It's not a rule, but it's a strategy that can help players a lot, whether you're playing in a tournament or you're playing in your home game. Because, and we've talked about this. We talked about it in the strategy session that we ran earlier this month. I talked about it in my strategy. It closes the window of opportunity. And you can go back and listen to some of those strategies, but it's a good thing because if you're sitting there looking at a tile saying, oh my goodness, I have the 7 dot to exchange for the joker, and somebody says call, that tile goes back on the wall. It's just a good strategy. It gives you a minute to think instead of throwing out a tile and not exchanging it. So people say, oh, sometimes it takes longer. It doesn't take longer if you do it quickly. So that's really all I have to say about that. I think it's a very, very important strategy. And also, it could be a tell. If people are not racking their tile and they're picking and throwing them fast, it's an indication of whether someone's set. So I think racking is really, really important. I guess you could make a case for not doing it, but I think I believe in it. It's a strategy that has worked for me over the years. Okay. Getting called dead in a tournament is very off-putting. The classic thing that happens to particularly first-time players is, and this is a tournament rule, not a Mahjong League rule. I think it should be. I teach my students to do this. When you pick that 14th tile off of the table, it must go not on the edge of your rack, on top of your rack. I've called people out in tournaments. I never did that. I was lucky, I guess, but that is the classic beginner mistake. And just remember, when you pick a tile from the table, to me, it should never go in your, on the slant part of your rack. It should go on top, whether you're calling it for Mahjong or you're calling it to call. You pick it up, you put it on top of your rack. If you get in that habit, it will save you some heartache. And almost everyone on the panel probably is shaking their heads. We've all had times where many of us as new players have been called out for that. I don't know where they came up with the terminology of being called dead. I will also share something that happened to me, and I had been playing tournaments a while. It was never in the written instructions. It was never talked about, but when you push a wall out, if there's a leftover wall from the previous one, you must take those tiles and put them together. If you don't, and someone takes it from the wrong place, you're out. And I think they are too. And I remember being called dead in a tournament for not doing that. So that is really, to me, one of the most important things, again, as a new player. You want to take the tiles and match them up if you're pushing your wall out, and you are responsible for getting your wall set appropriately. Also, particularly with the new card coming out, you know, you can challenge someone that they're dead, but in the beginning with a new card, you better really make sure you know those hands and you know that it's not just one hand. So again, it's back to knowing the card. I don't know, I don't really have anything else to share about dead hands. I think those are in the most important things that I can think of. And getting back to noise level, as Linda was saying, the volume rises when people finish early. I think it's about focus, particularly in a tournament also. I have seen people not be focused. They're worried about something there, and I've seen people make mistakes because of it. And if you're focused, you hopefully will tune out noise levels. So as it rises, just think about focusing on your game and what you have to do. The shush, when we're sitting at a Mahjong table, and again, in our home game, and we talked about this in etiquette, I think a couple of weeks ago, we have an unwritten rule that after we pick our tiles in, as we start the Charleston, there's no talking, because it throws people off and you're passing the wrong tiles and you don't know whether it's a first left or a second left. So particularly in a tournament with the time level, and you need to focus, it's not the time to be chatting and exchanging cell phone numbers with somebody you met at the table. Wait till, you know, the round is over. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add, but those are my pearls of wisdom.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Donna. And now we're back to Barney for wrapping up his crib sheet.
Just a very couple of quick words here at the very end. One of the things that I always found very helpful the first time, try to find someone who's been to that tournament before to get the inside scoop. Tell me what kind of players are showing up. Tell me what the room looks like. Tell me what the noise level is going to be like. Tell me if it's difficult parking when I get there. Try to find someone who's been to that tournament and that location before so that they can give you some inside scoop on what it's like playing with the people that you're going to be playing with at that particular facility. As you can see, there's lots of things to think about. Early on, I used to have a little checklist. Remember to pack the right things. Remember to leave this amount of time. Know exactly where I'm going to park. Know whether or not I understood the rules. I had my own little checklist of all the little things to just be ready when I played in that first tournament or that second tournament. And I can't help but, you know, really wrapping up with saying, even with all these things that you're going to be mindful of, in the long run, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. You're going to meet wonderful people. And if you meet one or two cranky people, so what? You're probably going to sit with them at a table for 40 minutes and never have to deal with them again. So on to the next table, and that's it. And by the way, we find cranky people in everything we do in life, right? So, right. So whether or not they're sitting in a Mahjong room with you, so what? I always say, you're going to ignore them. You'll be gone quicker. But I just said, be happy, be joyous, have fun. You're going to meet great people. And I'm sure we all agree it's something that we all really love doing, and we know you will too.
Barney, my first tournament I ever went to, I sat down at my first table at my first tournament. It was a weekend tournament in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I said, "Hi, my name is Rhonda. I'm here with 7 friends from Comac, Long Island." And the lady across from me said, "Shut up and play." That was my introduction to tournaments.
I remember you
I was
telling
like,
us
Yes.
this.
I was like, I'm not doing this. What am I?
Not
crazy?
at all Lancaster tournaments.
No, that is, well,
Oh, Rhonda.
well, kind of to continue that, when I played in a mini, because we had a vendor table, so I couldn't play in the actual tournament, but when I played in a mini, somebody was having a bad day. And I said, we all have to remember, everybody has things that they bring, kind of like what you were saying about like Barbara was saying, leave your cares behind. Sometimes it takes a little hard to leave your cares behind. So I said, we all have to give each other a little give and take. And I said, sometimes they're just having a bad day. And the woman across from me, who was absolutely lovely and so refined and elegant, and she looked at me and she said, or they could just be a I said, that could be it too. So you meet the same people you meet in every day, you meet at tournament. So do not be discouraged from rumors that tournament players are mean, because as you can
That's
tell,
right.
every
I
single
would
person on
say,
this panel
yeah.
are so outgoing and sweet, and they're all tournament players. So
That's right. 98% of the people, I mean, they're are going to be absolutely lovely. You're, like Barney said, in your everyday life, you're going to just experience not nice people. So they're all over the place, not just at tournaments.
And just a quick note, some reminders to bring. Don't forget your card. Cardigan, it's going to be sometimes cold in the rooms.
Yes.
Anything else you need. If you usually bring a cushion or a pillow to sit in a chair, bring the cushion. If you need a phone charger, if you need sucking candies, whatever you normally bring to your game, remember to bring it. And then
one thing is, you can't always bring food into synagogues unless it's kosher food. So you have to be careful with that.
Thank you. So before we go on to hosting tournaments, Linda, we have you talking about first you, and then we're going to go on to some tournament directors of what you foresee being East. What does that mean to you?
Sure. I actually thought of a couple of the things that, let me just really quickly mention this. So one thing is, and the tournament directors will appreciate me saying this, register early. So if you want to play in a tournament, don't wait until the last minute. A, it might be sold out, and B, it really messes with the tournament director's plans. So,
Thank you, Linda.
Yes, but I know, but also don't drop out unless you really it's an emergency and you have to, because that also messes with the tournament director's plan. So I'm very aware about that. Okay, so what does it mean to be East? So usually with every tournament, every type that I play in, the tournament director will have on the form or on the registration, are you willing to be East? And sometimes they'll say, are you willing to also bring a set? Again, that's going to vary, but you're not going to get assigned East unless you have been asked and agree to do it. I'll never forget, I walked into my first tournament carrying a set. I thought I was supposed to bring my own, and I was so embarrassed because I clearly didn't need it. Okay, so if you do volunteer to be East, typically this means that you're the scorekeeper for the table. So it's a little bit of work, because you have to make sure after each game that you are writing down, you have to be aware of how many points people get, what are the bonus points, what are the penalties, was somebody dead, is there a minus for that, is there not, because that varies. And then people will verify their scores, but it's really important to do it quickly and accurately. And I have made mistakes, they do happen. So I might mark the wrong person, not really the wrong score, but usually it's the wrong person. Oh, I'm so sorry. So, because sometimes it's names, sometimes it's numbers, so you just got to be clear. So East is keeping score. Another thing that East does is they typically will bring their own tiles. Now that depends on the tournament. Sometimes the tournaments provide all the tiles. Sometimes in a local tournament, they ask us to bring our sets. If you're an East and you're asked to bring your set, this relates to something said earlier, bring a set that's clear, that's easy to understand. And you can, of course, like Barney said, show people if you have an unusual one bam or a flower or something that needs some explanation, show that first. Another thing that I try to do as East is just keep it moving. And it's a little bit hard sometimes because I'm looking at the clock. I want to move people along, but I don't want to be rude in doing it because people can be kind of defensive. If you say, we just kind of need to speed things up, I'll try to say, oh, let's be mindful of the time. But, people don't really like it if you tell them to move a little more quickly, but it kind of needs to be said if you want to move it forward. Another thing that East does, I think it's important, is to try to set a positive tone, welcome people to your table. And I think before the game starts, if you want to chit chat and ask them how, before the round starts, ask them, how their day is going, where they're from. And if they don't want to talk, that's fine, but just try to set a positive, welcoming tone. And the other thing I'll say lastly is in most tournaments, in fact, in every tournament I play in, if I'm East, I don't rotate. Now, that might vary for some tournaments, but most of the tournaments, if you're East, you're in one spot. Well, I like that because I get to make myself at home. So I bring a little tray table for my side. I've got my back pillow. I've got my hand sanitizer. I might have some lotion. Like I've got my things. So you can get comfortable being East. That's one of the reasons I like it so much because I got all my stuff. So I don't know if I missed anything, but I know you've got others talking about this as well.
No, thank you. That's great to hear that from a player's perspective. And now we have Rhonda and then Jen from a local and national tournament perspective.
So I always announce at my tournaments that East is only the scorekeeper, and that's their job. And they're not the rule maker or the decision maker. I had somebody come up to me one day and say that the East at her table decided that we're not going to do a Charleston because it takes too much time and we're almost out of time. So we're just going to start playing. And they played the hand that way because East said that's the way to do it. And I said, no. East doesn't get to make up new rules or make decisions. I said, if anybody has any question about anything at the table, raise your hand, yell out my name, yell out one of the committee members' names, and we will come running over and we will make a decision about whatever the question is or whatever the dispute is. But East does not solve disputes, settle disputes, anything like that, even if they want to, even if they think they're supposed to. So I always make that announcement very clearly that your job is you are the scorekeeper. That's it and that's what they do. They also, I think the tournaments that East brings their own sets, they're more likely to sit at the same table all day. And at the tournaments where the sets are provided, East are more likely to move around then because they don't have to sit with their own set.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I think about East at most tournaments, is that their only job is their scorekeeper. And we really appreciate it. And we always provide a little gift, a little thank you for the people who volunteer to be East, because it is a job.
So that's a very interesting point. Andrew Killer just said, one thing not usually mentioned about being East, if the tournament director is selecting Easts on veteran or experienced players, is it almost like seeding at a tournament that Easts are not playing each other?
So I've looked at our local tournaments, maybe with 150 players or so.
Wait, sorry to interrupt, but just to give people, like, you do statistics. So just to give people background that this is not just a casual looking at things.
Yeah, no, I mean, this doesn't require statistics, but now you made me forget my train of thought. Wait, what was it was Andrew's question. Yes, so on our local tournament, they do publish the list of winners in order of their points and also in terms of their seat number. And so I've often looked to see, well, who are the winners? And I haven't done like a statistical calculation of it, but clearly the Easts are sort of, skewed towards the top. And these are the more experienced players. So I would agree with Andrew's point that there is a slight advantage in that way that you're not playing other Easts who are probably the more experienced players. The disadvantage is that sometimes you really want to play with the East and you don't get to.
Okay, and now we are moving on to Jennifer on this topic.
So, a lot of the things that Linda and Rhonda have said, it's Linda, Barney, and Rhonda have all been East at our tournaments. And just to touch from what each person said, like Linda said, when somebody comes to your table, you want to be welcomed. Again, it's making you feel comfortable. Like Linda said, not everybody always wants to talk, but at least welcome them, say hello. because as my mom always said, you're kind of our ambassadors. Okay. You're going to set the tone. And when you go to the table, people want to say, well, that was a really nice table, or I really enjoyed myself, because again, it's about having fun and enjoying yourself. You don't want to go there with somebody who's, got a frown on their face or whatever. So I think we do take that into consideration, personality or otherwise, when somebody's being an East. Again, a little bit, it's not necessarily because they're experienced, but a lot of our East, and again, because we're on all different coasts, we're West Coast, East Coast. So tiles are different, as we mentioned. On our West Coast, we provide all the tiles, tournament friendly sets, some in Florida, or more like our Piscataway and our Lancaster tournaments. People bring their sets. So we're all over the place. A lot of the people that we do ask have been East before. They're very familiar with our scoring system. They're very aware, but then we just had our tournament in Vegas and we had some new people, and our tournament scoring system is very easy. We do a very brief orientation on our scoring system about 10 to 15 minutes prior to our tournament beginning. Barbara also has a sample scoring sheet for our East prepared. So in case there's any confusion or discrepancy, and of course, we're always there to help. But again, as Rhonda mentioned, they're not the end all. They can't make up or make decisions that are incorrect or not doing a Charleston. They have to go by the rules. And if there's any discrepancies, they definitely have to ask their tournament directors. It is a job of keeping the scoring, keeping the pace going. It's a lot involved. And again, we also do provide gifts to them, because it is doing a little bit more than just playing. They do play a big role in our tournaments.
Awesome, terrific. So now we are going to move on to actual tournament play. And Jen, we're staying with you to talk about the speed of tournament play. Okay,
so it depends again, because we combine two different tournaments. Generally, on our East Coast, we do 50 minutes, and we'll tend to do 55 minutes elsewhere. My suggestion is, if you've never been to a tournament before, is when you play in your home game, I suggest that you set a timer and make sure that you can play 4 games within that time allotted. So whether it's 50, generally 55 minutes, make sure you can play those games in that allotted time, because some people play very fast. And generally, I think a game should be maybe about 12 minutes. And there should be no reason why you shouldn't be able to finish, like Linda said. And then you have time afterwards to go to the restroom, to step out of the room so you can get ready before the next round. Again, it does get very noisy. As much as I have tried my darndest to get people to settle down, I cannot do that. So the best suggestion is to finish early, go out, get yourself, some breathing room, and then get yourself back ready for the next round. Obviously, we have clocks, and your East will help guide you along and try and keep you on track. But really, you really do have to practice that before you go to a tournament.
And what's interesting is Donna and I, before you guys had Gladys's tournament, we went to Sarasota. And she said, please, she had 3 subs, and for some reason the subs were gone. So she said, just fill in. And what amazed me is how fast they set up the walls. That is incredibly quick. And also, of course, there's the trick, which I don't even try to do, where they put the tiles on the card and just flip it onto the rack. No need. I do not care at all for style. But set up and playing is much quicker. If you want see the pace, we actually asked a table at your Sarasota tournament if Michelle Frizzell and the 3 people she
Savannah. Yes, Savannah. Yeah, I remember that.
If they mind if we filmed over the shoulder.
Yes.
Right.
We didn't do it. We got some comments underneath that I can't see what hand she's playing. I can't see. We didn't do it for strategy. We didn't do it. We just wanted people to see.
Show the pace.
And throw. We just wanted to It isn't
Right.
as fast as you think it is, because when you think of 4 games in 60 minutes, when you take it, like Donna Small said, Miller Small, when you take out the talking, when you rack quickly, when you put the tiles together, it actually isn't.
There's
as
also
fast.
a no better, which
Yeah.
also changes the whole
Right.
dynamics of a home game. When you
Right.
have a better at the home game, it tends to
They
be
have to
longer.
walk
You're
around
just
and
playing the
see-
4
yeah.
games. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Definitely. So now we're going to Rhonda for speed of tournament play. Do you have anything to add that we missed?
No, I think we got it. My tournament is 50 minutes, and very rarely does somebody not finish in that time. Once in a
Right.
while, it'll happen. And I've even been at tables where, maybe you had 4 wall games, so it just took that much longer.
That's true, Rhonda.
Yeah.
That's what
So I
can
mean, if somebody
actually,
gets right,
Yeah.
somebody gets a mahjong really quickly, you're gonna have a lot more time to finish. But if there's maybe a question and you have to call a director over to get an
Right.
answer, it's gonna take a little longer. If you have 4 wall games, it takes a lot longer. But you should really be able to do 4 games in 50 minutes if you're in a tournament.
Okay,
Yeah.
so speaking of speed, Donna and I are notoriously horrible at keeping this to an hour. So since we are 3 minutes to 8, we understand you need to leave. However, we appreciate if you all stay. We will be sharing the entire thing on our YouTube channel. So if you need to leave, don't worry, you won't miss the rest. So next, I know a lot of people will be interested in finding out decisions made during home games and tournament play. And we're going to start with Linda on this.
Okay, great. I only picked a couple. So there's a lot. Obviously faster and less talking. That goes without saying. But in terms of strategy, I definitely play more defensively in a tournament. So an example of this would be in a home game, I would be more likely to risk throwing someone's Maj tile, even if I think I only have a small chance of winning, because it's just one contained game. Whereas in a tournament, we're talking about cumulative points across many games. So I'd be more likely in a home game to potentially throw a Maj tile. But in a tournament, I don't want to lose points for throwing a Maj tile. I really want to try to force a wall game if I just think I'm not going to win. And so, if you throw a Maj tile, you could lose 10 or 20 or 25 points. If you get a wall game, you usually get 10 points. So that's a pretty big swing of points. Maybe, could be up to 35-point swing by making that decision to play defensively and forcing a wall game. So that's just one thing. I might also try to force a wall game by making an exposure, even if I don't think I'm going to win. So, because that might help, that might encourage other players to play, to worry about not throwing my discard and lose points. And again, that can kind of force a wall game. I feel like Dara's probably like smirking right now, because I did tell her a story that I wasn't going to share, but now I am. At a tournament, I kind of knew that the player to my left, we all knew what they needed. And there were I don't know, I forget, maybe two tiles left. And I knew that we knew they were set. And I didn't know about the others. We knew they were set. And someone threw a tile that I literally didn't have any of. I'm horrible, but I'm revealing this. I called it and put it up with 2 jokers or something, as a way of preventing that other person from potentially picking their Maj tile. And so that everybody got a wall game. That person was actually very grateful, because we looked at the tiles, they weren't going to get it. So everybody was happy with me, because everybody got 10 points. But I kind of in the moment made a very quick decision to play defensively to get those 10 points. So I don't know if I'm proud of it or not, but that's what I did. And then the other thing is the other sort of thing we do differently in tournaments is in a home game, you'll often kibitz about your what you were playing, what you're going for. You'll do an autopsy of your hand. Nobody cares in the tournament. So just keep that to yourself, throw in the tiles, move on to the next game.
Wonderful. Thank you, Linda. And thanks for sharing that. I know that was a little embarrassing for you, but I thought it was genius. And now Donna Miller Small, if you have to add to that. Oh, hold on. Yep. Let me unmute you.
Okay. I'm going to take the other tactic. In tournaments, I'm going to push a hand more, and pushing a hand means jumping out and calling earlier. you put your opponents on the defensive. If I've got 2 exposures up there, they're going to think long and hard about throwing, and because they're minus points. Also, in that mindset, generally in tournaments, you're playing against more seasoned players, not always. And you want to make Mahjong before they do. You want to get to the finish line before they do. So I think to think more offensively, and yes, am I going to throw to 2 exposures? If I'm on the defense, I'm going to think about that too. But jumping out a little earlier, and anybody who's on here who usually plays with me, I saw one face, knows that that's not my style, but in a tournament, it might be. The other thing, kind of piggybacking on what Linda said, and I had this happen in a home game recently. I didn't call someone dead who I knew was dead because I wasn't going to make it. And I wanted to have, I didn't want to take out, if you just, and I don't know where the term dead came from, probably Dara knows because she's a sleuth. If you call someone out or dead, you take them out of the picking. So it gives everybody else more opportunity to pick their winning tiles. If I know I'm not going to make it, I don't want to do that because I want the wall game. So those are two things I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. So now we are going to switch on to Barney and discuss improving your chances at winning.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about a lot of things. Hopefully, all of them in totality will help with improving our chances of winning. But I want to talk about one sort of thing that maybe we don't even talk about that much, and that's really knowing yourself and all the things that might be going on in your life and around you, especially when you're playing in a big tournament, that might distract. I think you really need to focus on really basic things like, am I really going to have that second cocktail tonight before I go to bed? Because I'm not going to maybe sleep as well. Although the thought of giving up a second Manhattan is really not making me very happy right now. But I think you have to really understand yourself. Be aware. I mean, I know people who don't want to look at the scorecard. I always know exactly where I am. I'm not the scorecard, the list of who's sitting where at the end of each session, so I know exactly where I am. It might change the way I play in terms of being more aggressive or going after a bigger hand or whatever. I think that's important, but I think really knowing all the things that are going to potentially impact you. You got to be really sharp. Stamina, I think, is a big reason why I see certain people's names at the winner list. They show better stamina to me for a long haul, especially in a 3-day tournament. So there are other things other than just knowing the game, because we know that there's an element of luck. There's an element of luck at these tournaments as well, but you need to eliminate, I think, all these other things that might take away from what's going to keep you at your optimal game. And I find myself doing that a little bit.
And Barb, did you have to add to that?
Yeah. A lot of people come up to me and say, how do you win a tournament? It's called slow and steady. I believe heavily now that the people that win the high rounds do not win the tournament. People tend to go for singles and pairs, quints. The object of winning a tournament is to make as many hands as possible.
Agreed.
It's 50, 60, 70 points. Keep doing that, doing that. You will wind up winning a tournament. Too many people go for the big hands. They go for this hand, the special hands. And I have looked after past of doing this for now about almost 2 years. And I notice that the people that win the high rounds don't tend to win the tournament. And they're just sitting quietly, making hand after hand. Those 10 points are extremely important. Okay, I'd rather get those 10 points. I know we get angry. Sometimes we'll see a new person throw a flower that last tile instead of the joker, which they should, so we don't get the 10 points. But I've learned to smile now. I'm not playing in the tournament, but it's true. Steady. Keep those 25 points, those 30 points. Just keep doing that. You'll wind up, and many people ask me, how do you win a tournament? And that's how you win a tournament, truthfully. That's my feeling.
I want to just, because it just happened today, I want to actually add on, see, I was playing online, Barney, we've played on there before, about
Yep.
throwing a joker at the end. There was 4 tiles left. She had 2 jokers in her hands. She threw me a hot tile at the end, and I mahjong instead of throwing a joker.
Yeah.
Again, those 10 points, it could have been a wall game. But I wound up getting the mahjong because she had no other picks.
Mhm.
So when you have no, and when there is no, like you always used to say, you can't make mahjong second, okay?
What do I call it, Jennifer? I
What?
say there's
There's
no
not an invisible,
magic
another
wall
wall.
coming out. That's
The
what I
one
always say.
major rule, like Barbara said, and Linda said, those 10 points can mean whether you are in the top, because usually it's very close.
Yep.
So if
Yeah.
you have no other picks, you have to throw that joker, because you're going to you could possibly give somebody else mahjong. Because like I said, the game is over at that point.
Very good. Donna, did you have something to add to that?
No, maybe not.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Yep, you're muted.
I'm
Okay.
glad Jennifer mentioned that. We've talked about that in strategy. And it's like anybody playing in a tournament. That's Mahjong 101.
Right.
If you didn't learn and take lessons, and if you learned from Aunt Sally, Mahjong 101 is throw jokers at the end or the safest tiles you can. You're not going to take that gold to Fort Knox. Those jokers aren't going to carry over to the
Right.
next time.
Right.
I feel extremely, and I see that in home games sometimes with not the usual players, but somebody will come in and I just say nicely, you know, we all need to remember, throw jokers at the end if you can't make it. And I just wanted to also add, I think the first time I went to Piscataway before Barbara and Jen, my first tournament, I was tied for first place Sunday morning. I was beside myself. I had gone to the mini the night before. I didn't sleep well. I just sat down and tried to relax before I went into the tournament, and I placed. I didn't win, but I was excited. And there is an element of luck because there were people there who go to all the tournaments who were better players than I am and was. And I tried to focus, and there is a luck involved. Barney talked about it with his extrapolations that he did, and yeah, so focus and relax if you can.
Yes. Yes.
Terrific. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears and I am going to share my screen. So we talked about speed of tournament play, decisions, improving your chance of winning. And now Barney has a sheet, which we will share this on modernmahjong.com. And this is for his local tournaments.
Yes. And I'm going to say, you thought I was fast before. I'm going to be even faster now because I don't want to keep people too much. Again, you'll be able to see this. You'll be able to get a copy of this. And I'm also going to offer, since we're going to do this very fast, if anybody has any questions about this, give them my email. I give you, okay, Dara, Donna, just tell them my email.
We never share emails unless people tell us we can.
Right.
So.
Anybody who wants the email address can have it. So I did this very, very fast, but even in thinking of the last 2 that I did, what were the things that I kept in mind in getting that facility ready for that tournament? And let's do these really fast. You need to know what the maximum number of players that you want. That number is going to drive everything else in terms of space and prizes. And you're going to get into an exercise of math very, very quickly. And you need to figure out right from the beginning, I don't want more than, let's say, 80 people who are going to fit comfortably in this room. Okay, 80 people. Where am I going to put them? Okay, if I have a facility and I know that it's got a room, is it going to fit 80? If not, I'm going to change that number. I want people to be comfortable, sound, and my voice, and just not getting too loud in the room. You want to make sure that you have the right facility. You have to do the math. You got to start figuring out, is there even going to be prize money? What fees do you have? What supplies do you need to buy? How much you're going to charge for an entrance fee? And you have to literally sit down with paper and pencil and literally figure out the math. If I'm charging this amount of people and I have 80 people, but I'm giving $500 to the facility for rent and I had to, run all of these papers off and it's costing me this, you got to sit down and figure out exactly how that works, because then you're going to have to figure out, and what kind of prizes am I going to give out? How many people are going to get money? Do I want more people getting a small amount of money, or do I want a bigger first prize? And so you have to really think through all of that. There will be math involved. How do you find these players? I mean, are they already associated with the facility? Are you going to reach out to some of your friends who maybe have lots of friends who play Mahjong, use personal lists? I recently put up on my personal Facebook page the tournament in Montville, New Jersey, that we'll be doing in the middle of May. And, you know, I know we have a lot of people who responded just because I posted it there, but the facility itself had a list of people who played in the past. So you really need to understand how you're going to find these players. And then I think the next one is, and communicate with them. You want these folks to, you want to be in touch with them, because I can't tell you how many people just simply forget. They're like, oh my God, I did that 3 months ago. I forgot. I didn't put that on my calendar. What do you mean you didn't put that on your calendar? No, I didn't put it on my calendar. So we try to send out reminder emails or reminders with some sort of communication to remind people. In fact, one tournament director for Rockland County, I think just this morning, put out a reminder that she's got a tournament this Sunday, so that people don't forget that it's this Sunday. If you're coming, please come. I try to share the rules in advance. Again, I don't have a website per se like some of the other folks who run the bigger tournaments, but if possible, try to get those rules out in advance so people have them in front. If not, you're going to put them out when they walk into the space, have them at the table. That's certainly important. We've talked a lot about Easts today. I think Easts truly do set the tone for how your tournament is going to be run. And even though they're not making every decision, they have a very important role, I believe. And for those of you who were listening today, you see, it's not always easy getting all the volunteers you want to be, because there are responsibilities. And let's face it, if you could go to a tournament and not have to think of anything other than your own play, forget keeping score and watching the time and making sure the rules are there, I mean, there's work. And so if you are fortunate enough and you are able to select your East versus beg for your Easts, that's a beautiful thing. Over time, what I was fortunate enough, even in Montville, some of the ladies from the last Montville group came to me and said, you know, I'd love to be East next time. So you have to keep that in mind and keep those names. This, to me, if I could put in, you know, bolder letters, this is mission critical. You want alternates available, and this is much easier said than done. You know, who are you gonna, you know, it's always wonderful to have 3 people who are going to be in that room, and if you don't use them, they're kind enough to say, I'll go home. That's okay. Because if you have 1, 2, or 3 cancellations, that's going to screw lots of things up. 4 cancellations, not so bad, because then you break down one table, so to speak. But I've always tried to have 3 people around or close to call and can get there quickly in case you do have those last minute cancellations. There's lots of that last point, I think, was just about the logistics, you know, just in terms of making sure that you know how to change the temperature of the room when people say they're now too hot, too cold. Make sure you have a microphone. Even me with one of the loudest voices, you know, I need to use a microphone from time to time. So there's a lot to remember. And I'm going to end with number 10, the same way I said for people going to a tournament. If you're about to run one, find someone who's done this. They're going to teach you so many things that you're not going to remember or that I didn't talk about, because there's a lot to do. If you are kind enough to help an organization with this, thank you. There's a lot of work in making this successful.
That's right.
That was awesome. So that was Barney for local. And just as a FYI, Donna and I always said that we would never run a tournament, just like we said we'd never have clothes and sizes, which of course we did that. So we compromised by hiring Rhonda to run our tournament. So if you were looking to have a tournament, there are options. If what Barney said inspires you, great, go do it on your own. If what Barney says scares the whatever out of you, find someone that's done this before and figure out a way that you can host a tournament. So with that, Rhonda, do you have to add to hosting a tournament? Oh, you know what? Actually, that was going to be Barb, and then we'll get to Rhonda.
Okay.
I'm going to take a deep breath because we run 3-day tournaments. And what Barney said, I'm not going to take it away from you, Barney, but running 3-day tournaments in cities all across the country with anywhere from 150 to plus 200 people has been unbelievable. We start out, obviously, we have our schedule every year, but we start out with the locations. We start out with the hotel. We figure out the package because our package always includes either for the commuters, it does not usually, it only includes the lunch, but for all our hotel guests, we have to figure out, and this is where it becomes a problem. How many rooms do you take? Do you take tons of rooms or do you take less rooms? Because I don't know if anybody realizes when you run national tournaments, you're required to fill those rooms. If you don't, you have to pay for those rooms. So Jennifer and I have been a little gun shy in the beginning, and we wound up selling out some of our tournaments, including our Tampa tournament the first year. So we went to 100 rooms this year. We wound up with 224 people and still didn't have enough rooms. So it's a juggling thing. So you have to figure out your rooms. You have to figure out what you're going to feed these people, because Mahjong players love to eat. So usually you have to give them 2 breakfasts and a lunch. And even in Piscataway, we give dinner. So it's an unusual situation in that particular tournament. So you have to figure out now. Most of our hotels, we really try to give great lunches and great breakfasts. I mean, especially in our boutique hotels like Charleston and Savannah and some of the other things, they serve amazing food, I got to tell you. But then sometimes you're stuck, that you're let's put it this way, you're stuck with what they give you. I'm sorry.
Right.
Box lunch, which we're not so happy with. But anyway, so you have to think about that. But I got to just tell you, to make it short and sweet, okay, going back on what Barney said, you have to be prepared. Take Murphy's Law, okay? Jennifer is amazing at doing seating arrangements and rooming lists, okay? What people don't realize, and I think it's part of the way we run our tournaments, okay? You sign up, we often sell out, and then you're almost guaranteed 5% cancellations during that last week or two.
Mm-hmm.
What we had to set up to do was 2 things that maybe why we've had such success in our tournaments. We bring 3 alternates to every one of our tournaments. And they come, I think some of you know them. I mean, Christine Winholtz drives to every tournament, including across the country. Joanne, who thought she was going to retire from this business, is not retired. She comes to every one of the tournaments.
She just doesn't have to deal with the headache.
Right. And we have another person that's sort of joined us, Oklahoma in the house. Some of you know Count Peterson. Rhonda's going to be an alternate for us in Scottsdale. But the thing is, you have to be prepared. And even with that, in Las Vegas, we had people that wound up having food poisoning.
It was like they were dropping like flies.
Happened. Ironically, we were lucky with some of our vendors that they play Mahjong. Now, Darren, Donna, we might be saying to you in Piscataway, come on in. Paula Howard plays Mahjong. But you can never you're not prepared.
No.
What I think people don't realize when you sign up for these tournaments, you have to have 4 at a table. We don't want to have it that we have to play 3 at a table, because there's an advantage when you play 3, actually, because you get more picks. People think it's bad, but it's actually I feel it's on the positive side, because you're getting a lot of picks. You have to be prepared for microphones not working, for the water coolers not being filled, for every possible, and no matter how much you prepare, I guarantee Jennifer and I've experienced almost at every tournament, something happened that we
boxes
didn't
not
expect.
arriving.
Right.
Boxes not arriving. Our first Tampa tournament, my Barbara and my dad didn't make it till 3 days later. It was maybe my second tournament that I had to do it all by myself until they got there the next day, because especially with the airlines canceling, our boxes of badges didn't show up. You just have to pivot. We came up, you always come up with a solution, but to me, you never let them see you sweat.
That's what it is. Don't sweat the small stuff.
That's right. We make it so you guys have an amazing time, and then we deal with it on the inside. And a glass of wine or 2 always helps too.
You guys would appreciate this. For our little Fort Lauderdale tournament, we had 3 subs. They were thrilled to come play, have lunch. The day before, one of our subs calls us, they had COVID. Then the day before, we had people cancel. The day of, as we're driving there, people cancel. I walk in and Rhonda's like, don't worry. I'm like, did you have a glass of wine at 9 a.m? She's like, sure enough, we had my mom and another sub waiting to play.
Nice.
So I really hoped that one person wouldn't show because then we'd be fine. Then both subs could leave. What happens? 2 women walk in and they're not on the list. And Donna looks at me and she's like, they're not on the list. And I look and I'm like, come sit down. We didn't get your check, but sure enough, their check never made it to us.
Oh, yeah.
And they looked and they showed us their check. They gave us new payment right there. I sent my mom home and we had full tables. So
it happens.
Yeah.
Barbara, we had that Las Vegas last year. Some ladies like, I'm in the tournament, but I'm like, I don't have you on the list. And luckily, same thing. It worked out. And listen, do we always try and have subs? Absolutely. You can't control. Maybe one time, like this Las Vegas, like Barbara mentioned, it was just very crazy what happened. Everybody was just getting sick. So it was kind of all over the place. You can't control it. But like she said, we do try and bring 3 subs every time.
Just in case anyone's confused, Barb is Jen's mother, but in the business, we call her Barb.
Barbara mom.
Yeah, she calls me mom. Yeah, then she calls me Barbara. Then I know I'm in trouble.
So this is one thing that we experienced a lot at our tournament, and I'm sure you guys get this as well. People whispered to us when they showed up, it's my first tournament. What do I do? From the perspective of a tournament host, if someone says that to you, Rhonda, what advice do you give them?
My advice that I announced to the whole room at the beginning of the tournament is, we have a lot of new players here. Do not announce yourself as a new player. Just pretend you know what you're doing and just go along and play, because some players are not so nice and they'll try to take advantage of new players by hurrying them along, by looking for anything that they might do wrong to be able to call them dead, it's just, it just happens. So I just say, pretend you've been doing this for a long time. Don't announce yourself as new.
And Barb, is that the same?
Can I add something to that? A lot of time we find with the new players, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this, the new players want a tail. Okay, this is quite a few times at our tournament. The tail is not official. The reason they need the tail is because they need to keep track of where it is. Experienced players don't want the tail because they actually, unfortunately, some of them want them to screw up. I don't know how else to say it nicely.
Right.
But the way we've handled tails is, and I don't know if anybody else has they'll call us over and they'll say, well, they want a tail. I says, if everybody feels the tail is, somebody's asking, it's when you turn the last 4 tiles so that you know where the next wall connects. Because
it's like
it goes in a continuous cycle. So I say to them, if everybody is okay with the tail, we don't have a problem. And most of the players say, fine, it's okay. And it usually is with new players, they'll ask for that tail. That's what we have found.
But you should try and that can become a crutch, though. You want to try and figure out where the wall, when you're pushing out the wall, the angle. If you start learning on the angle where the wall is coming out, you'll always know where to pick your tiles from.
Right.
Listen, I sometimes, if I'm not paying attention or if I'm looking down, I'll just say, which side. But you can kind of figure out where you're supposed to pick from if you just watch the angle of the way the tiles are being pushed out from the wall.
Perfect. And then
can I just finish a comment I wanted to say before? Another really important thing about hosting a tournament is making sure that you have a amazing committee working with you. Nobody can do this alone. It's way too big a job. And what we do at Dix Hills, I'm not the one who runs it. There's 4 of us that run it. And we're a committee and we call ourselves the well-oiled machine, and it's Paula, Fran, and Sharon and me. And we do this all together. And we're all just as important as everybody else. I mean, I may be the mouth of the tournament. Maybe people mostly know me because I'm the contact person. But if it wasn't for the other people on the committee, this would never, ever happen. So it's really important for anybody who wants to run a tournament to have a great committee that you can count on and work together with.
Absolutely.
Another comment on that. We have an unpaid player in our family. Everybody knows my husband, Mark, and Jennifer's father. He got pulled into this. He thought he was retired, but he's part of our committee, unpaid, but he makes all your packages up. So you get to see him at tournaments. Thank you. All right. Had to add that.
Yes.
Great. So we went over knowing the rules in advance, for bonuses, penalties, and what to expect for prizes. Jen, do you have stuff to add for that?
Well, Barb and I, what we try and do, and I think Barney had mentioned it before, it's going to depend, obviously, the prize money is going to be based on the amount of people you have at the tournament. But again, Barb and I tend to get on an average 150 to 200. Barb and I give all, I guess I should say, the tournaments, who wins the tournaments, we usually pay 10 spots. For our mini tournaments, we give every cent out. We don't keep any of that money. We try and pay as many places as possible. But all that money, all that cash that people put in, it all goes back out to you. We don't believe in keeping any of that money. We do a lot of special hands. We try and do a lot of fun things. I don't know if you saw the post we just did in Vegas. Because it's Vegas, we had these big dice. And one thing Barbara and I do is we pay $5 if you pick Mahjong on your last pick, not the last tile, your last pick tile. Because it's Vegas, we had dice. If you rolled a 7 or 11, you doubled your money to $10. And also we picked for table numbers. We paid each person, if we picked it out of the bag, each person at that table got $5. In Charleston, we do fun. If you stop the Charleston and you make the hand, we give you $5. We just do all Savannah. A lot of people saw this Forrest Gump hand. It was the last concealed hand in the consecutive numbers because Forrest Gump was filmed there. So he ran all over the place. So we made the running numbers. We try and make it fun because that's what we do. We like to have fun. So bonuses, special hands, different things like that.
And then for Rhonda and Barb, whoever want to jump in, I mean, if there's high rounds, like I know when we did our virtual tournaments, which actually one's going on right now, people love the high round because even if they're out of the winning, they know they still have a chance to have their teeth in the game. So how does that work?
We pay $5
Okay.
for every high round.
I'm just going to jump in with some of the prizes. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, go.
Okay. We believe all our players are winners, but we want everybody, Jennifer and I decided to spread the wealth in our tournaments. We want everybody to go home and think that they won. They get excited. They went home and the husband says, or your friend says, did you win anything? And I said, yeah, I won $5. They tend to put it in their pouch and I tend to take it out of their pouch. But we set up that we have all high rounds. We pay $20. We have 4 special hands every tournament, every session. I can't even figure out what they are, which I usually put in the welcome letter because I need the new card.
Right.
Every tournament, we pick a bonus hand, like Jennifer mentioned, stopping the Charleston, Forrest Gump hand. In the Piscataway tournament coming up, we're going to do 23 players in every session who make a hand in the 23. We're going to pay $5. We play usually 2 to 3 minis. We do something called Under the Line the last day, which gives another opportunity to win. Jennifer will pick, usually it's the bottom third. Whoever scores the most points in that last session will also win $50. We do 2 charities. We always do Alzheimer's. We have donated over $10,000 to Alzheimer's. And I don't know if you just noticed the posting. Eli Manning had given us a football to raffle out in our November tournament. We raised over $1,100 for his tackle for kids' cancer. So we're now asking him for a jersey, by the way. But we try that. We give away 12 gift certificates, 4 $100, 8 $100, 8 $25. We give away a free weekend. We
pay last place. We pay
last place. Somebody asked that question.
Yeah.
We pay $25 for last place. We decided that we wanted everybody to sort of say, I was a winner, even though all our players are winners.
Yeah.
All our vendors, and we have a lot of vendors that have now joined our list, and we have a tremendous amount coming to all of our next tournaments. They all donate a lovely gift. All those go out also. Did I miss any of the prizes, Jen?
Oh, but like you said, it's all about giving to the players, making sure they have fun, giving to our charities, and again, just spreading the wealth.
Wonderful. So now we've, does anybody in the panel have anything that we missed that you want to touch base on? So I know it's a lot of people in the audience, but if anybody wants to raise their hand or put in the chat a question if we missed anything. Otherwise, we really appreciate all of you for joining us. We appreciate our very helpful.
Yeah, Dara, by the way, we're getting questions about what happens in the event
Yes,
of
a question.
tie. Yeah.
It's Jennifer's dog, by the way.
Everyone has a question.
Yeah, what happens in the event of a tie for prizes?
Usually what happens for that is if it's a tie for first or second place, then they're both first and then the next place is third, and first and second share first, the two first share first and second prizes. And if there's a tie for the bottom place, then they share the prizes for that amount. So anyone who joined us late, have the Mahjong League, if you ordered from us to raise money for Alzheimer's, thank you. And also your cards were mailed this morning. If you ordered after the 15th through March 18th, they will be mailed the end of the first week of April, and anything ordered after March 18th will be mailed the second week of April. But that was through yesterday, so I think that is still the same. If you missed it, you could go to modernmahjong.com to find out about our raffle to benefit Alzheimer's for the season's Mahjong set. If you are in Fort Lauderdale or near or want to come visit, we have people coming from Oklahoma. We have people coming from all over Florida. We have a luncheon with Michelle Frizzell. We are going to raise funds for Alzheimer's, and she's going to take a deep dive into the 2023 card and teach us all how to transition. Then we're going to break for a delicious lunch and social Mahjong games. Donna and I aren't doing a tournament this time. We are doing prizes. You might have heard some of the panel guests talk about hands of the round. We put on a big clipboard, a big board, the different hands, and whoever gets that hand will win $5 for that round. And then here are upcoming events. We have our card review with Barney Gallassio on April 4th. It's great. If you missed it last year, it's on YouTube. Barney is very mathematical and goes through what hands are repeated, what are the numbers and tiles to look out for, what exposures make you dead. It's just really invaluable to kickstart the way you think, as well as Barney had shared with us a great way to learn the card, which one, he makes all the hands with tiles, but also he writes them all down. So we will be sharing a revised graph paper sheet for you to do that. And Barney gave us a tip that he uses a pen with green, red, blue, and black ink. So that's a great way to learn the cards in the different variation. We have our luncheon with Michelle. We have virtual vintage resuming in May. And then we are going to be posting tomorrow about our giveaway. If you haven't had the Mahjong Practice app, we have no relation to any apps. Real Mahjong, Mahjong Practice, Mahjong Time, any of them. The Mahjong Practice app is giving us 10 apps to give away. So we are going to have a contest on that. It is a great way without Wi-Fi to learn the new card, because it tells you how many tiles you are away if you want from each different hand. And then finally, I think that was it. So I'll stop share. And if you are wondering why I'm talking so much, Donna has a cough and didn't want to cough the entire time. So we really, really appreciated all of you for sharing your wisdom and your time and doing this at your expense and your time. This will be shared on YouTube as soon as we can download it and bring it back up to YouTube. And if you want to get notice of any of our upcoming events, you could go to modernmahjong.com and sign up for our emails. If there are areas that you want to play on Facebook, you could put the state that you live in or that you're visiting and include the style you play. And we love it. We have connected people that we just got an email today. People play in our tournament that have never met, that have been playing for the past 3 years and play every month.
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
that's
I
really
want to
great.
thank you also, Dara,
Yes, thank
and
you for
Donna, for
having us.
hosting this. Thank you very much. This was a
Thank-
lot of fun.
Thank you
Oh,
to our
awesome.
panelists.
Thank
Thank you.
Glad you guys
Yes.
enjoyed.
And we will see Barb and Jennifer and Piscataway soon.
I can't wait.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All
Have a
right,
good
thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Piscataway.
Bye.
Bye.